Hey guys, welcome to the part two of the Python basics video that we were doing. I think the first part we saw how to plot graphs, basic graphs that could show any one metric, like maybe for example we plotted who played the most passes, the top five players that played the passes for Borussia Dortmund last season. And we also learned how to add images to the graph, right? For example, we added Nico Schlotterbeck's and Rafael Guerrero's images, for example. Also showed you have to get an image, you don't have to download an image always. You can use the URL open, copy the image address, and just get the image as such. So now let's dive into Impaled Soccer. Now Impaled Soccer is a library that's built on Matplotlib, right? So there's a beautiful page they have set up. You can really visit the website. I'll put the link in the description. You can see how to install the package, right? How to plot a pitch. And also, they have a lot of examples on how to do various stuff you see on social media. Anyways, you see coded on social media most of the times. MPL Soccer is the library that's used. Right? It's a very useful library that really helps in bringing some beautiful viz to life. Let's just so I was telling you about radar charts. You have like a lot of examples you can check it out. I'll put the link in the description. So let's dive in. Let's say somebody asks you, I want a report on Jude Bellingham, right? So we'll make a player report on Jude Bellingham last season. So we already saw the data file for all games of Borussia Dortmund last season, right? So we showed that data frame as BVB only. I mean, these are the events only for Borussia Dortmund. So there are player names, right? The filter, right? I mean, there are so many players in Borussia Dortmund. So we need to make a player report on Jude Bellingham. That's the objective. So let's do that. Let's start. Let's say I only want the events or the actions Jude Bellingham made in the pitch. How do I get that? I use my data frame BVB only, and then inside square brackets I say BVB only player name is Jude Bellingham. So if you want a list of the players that are in the team, I showed you it yesterday in the first part. All you have to do is put the column name right in the square brackets and just say unique. So we got these are the unique players in the data frame we have. So all we have to do is copy Jude Bellingham's name, put it here. We're gonna name it Jude Bellingham. So let's see what's the length of the match IDs. So there are 26 games here. We got actions for 26 games, right? I'm saying the match ID, length of that, how many matches I have basically. Let's see the file itself. So these are Jude Bellingham's actions last season. I got about 2,258 rows of data and passes, the aerials, the take-ons, whether it's dispossessed, all sorts of actions. Now let's say I want the passes Jude Bellingham made. So in order to get the passes Jude Bellingham made, you have to filter on the data frame. So Jude is the data frame inside the square brackets. So we're gonna put the type pass in the Jude. Jude is the data frame name. So we're gonna filter it with the type pass. So we only get the passes Jude Bellingham made. Now we're gonna take some of the types that we need to plot on the database we're gonna make. So let's say I want to plot the shots that are there. So all these types. So when you have the different types of actions that Jude Bellingham made on the pitch, you're gonna have to segregate them into different types. So all missed shots, right? Missed shots, saved shots, or shot on post, shots that hit the post, they're all inside a list called shots. The action called goal is in the list called goals. And ball recovery, clearance, tackle, challenges, interception, block pass, all these are the defensive actions that are come in the list of the defensive actions. So we're just basically taking the various actions or type which refers to the action that are in the data frame and just segregating them into different lists, right? So now once again, like in the first part, how I showed you have to get an image. So let's say I want the Jude Bellingham image. I don't want to download it, so let's just search for Jude Bellingham's image, right? So let's say there's an image of Jude Bellingham here, right here. So we're just gonna take this image, for example, right? Or you can take this image. Let's just copy the image address. Let's put that here. Let's just run the cell. So basically, I taught you this method so that you don't have to download an image each and every time whenever you want to make any viz. So we got Jude Bellingham's image here. So it's a bit big, but that's fine. Adjust that in the viz. That won't be a problem. Right, so MPL Soccer, as I was talking about it, MPL Soccer gives you the option to add images on their plots, right? So there's a function called add image that lets you add an image on the picture. So we'll be just diving into that now. So okay, so now before we go into the whole graph, it's a huge code. Before we go into the whole code, let's look at the basics. I'll break this whole code down to different parts. So let's say the first and foremost thing is, let's say somebody asks you to make a player report on Jude Bellingham and says, I want all the successful and unsuccessful passes he made. Let's say I want all the defensive actions, goals, shots in one pitch, and let's say I also want to see maybe here how did in various areas how did Jude Bellingham made actions. I mean, which direction was he making actions on different areas of the pitch. So let's say this is what somebody asks you, and let's say they give you data of Jude Bellingham to make a player report like that. So the first and foremost thing would be you want to draw pitch, right? So you want to plot maybe passes, for example. So let's just say MPS, right? So we imported MPL soccer as MPS, right? So we're going to use MPS and a function called vertical pitch. So what vertical pitch does is it draws a pitch in a vertical manner. And I'm drawing the pitch type as opta, so the data is an opta data, so we're drawing the pitch type as opta. Let's say I want to draw pitch color as green and line color as white. Okay, so let's say I want to draw 3 pitches side by side. It should be in green color and the line should be in white. So how do I do that? Just like in part 1 I explained how in Matplotlib you use a figure and an axis. Same way we've defined the pitch, so we're going to use the variable called pitch and use the function called grid. So what grid essentially does is that you can draw a number of pitches, right, according to like whatever you need. So for example, we need 3 pitches side by side in a single row, so I'll just say n rows is 1, number of columns is 3. I'll leave some height for the title. Let's say the grid width is 9, fig height is 30. These variables is mostly like you have to adjust yourself based on how you want the title to look, but these three in fact are generally the most important thing. Now this set face color is used to match the background of or the surroundings of the pitch to the color or any color you want according to the pitch color you kept. So let's just execute, run this cell. You'll understand that way better. Okay, right. So this is good. So now you can see I've got 3 pitches side by side. Right. I can put, let's say the passes in this pitch. I can put the goals, the defensive actions, and various other stuff on this pitch. And I can, let's just say, I can put an action flow map here. So what an action flow map does is we're going to divide the pitch into different areas and say, in this area with the ball, what did Jude Bellingham do? Or which direction did he pass or something like that. So we got this. This is a basic image. This is what the first 3 lines of code does. Right. Now let's say I want to plot the successful passes of Jude Bellingham. So let's plot that. So in order to plot any lines or arrows, let's say you want to plot passes as arrows. So we can just use the arrows function. I'll explain the line, right? Okay, so you got a variable pitch. So if you want to draw anything, you're gonna use the variable called pitch. We're gonna use the function arrows, and inside the arrows, now this is where we mention the XY coordinates. So any pass, for example, we had Jude passes, right? The passes Jude Bellingham made. So any pass has an X and a Y. So these are the starting locations of the on the pitch, right, for any pass. So how are these X and Y calculated? I can show that to you. Let's just say I show you the axis of the pitch. It will be easier to understand. Yep. Oh, sorry about that. It's a small L. Python is case sensitive. Yeah, we jumped the gun. It's fine. So this one, before I show you the past ones. Yeah. So now we can see uh, axis of the pitch, right? So this is the y-axis, 0 to 100, and you also got x-axis, which is 0 to 100, right? So any point, let's say there's a point called 49, 27.7, 91.6. So x is 27 somewhere here, y is 91, so maybe you're gonna put up a point up here. I think it's better, if I show you the passes as such. Let's just say I'll show you this pass, for example. So this pass has the index 13, right? This is the index, or this is the first row, right? So pandas allows data frame allows you to access an individual row. So let's just say pitch.arrows Jude passes, right? Jude passes dot index equal to 13. That is the index. Let's just say the index is 13, and put the x coordinate. Let's just copy this and put all the coordinates we want. We want the y coordinates. We also want the index and ny. So index and ny specify the end value or the end location of any pass is made. So point A to point B, the pass is made, x and y starting location, and x and y the end location. So we put that. Now we need to mention an axis. So in this case, when you mention axis, you have to understand that this is the axis name, right? So we put ax, and inside square brackets put pitch, because it is the pitch, right? You're referring to the pitch. Right now, how do you say like which pitch you want to plot the passes on? So you've got 3 pitches here, right? So usually the count goes like this. This is the 0th pitch on the left extreme. You got a 3rd pitch, so it goes as the count goes from 0, right? So technically 3rd pitch is 2nd, so 0, 1 and 2, right? So we want on this pitch, so we're going to say ax, the axis, the pitch, and say 0, right? So let's just put some color. Let's say I want a beautiful color. I had a color here. I'll just pick that up. So you got color codes here. So I'll show you a website. There's a good website. I'll add this link later. So there's a very good website that gives you different colors, right? So each color has a hex value, right? You can use that hex, copy the hex value, and just put that here. It's as simple as that. So we're gonna plot, this pass here. For example, it's a successful pass by Jude Bellingham. So we do that. Sorry about that. Needs double equal to miss the ny. Apologies on my side. Yep. So let's put this. So yep. So now we got pass. This was the pass that Jude Bellingham made. This pass, this arrow refers to this pass right here. So just like that, we're gonna put all the passes, right? So instead of once you just take out the index, right? So we're not gonna filter on index, right? So if we want successful passes in similar way, Now we just take this um, whole line, right? Now when we put this line, we're saying shoot passes, the outcome type should be successful. And I'm giving the color 00FF00. This a light green type color, right? I'm going to label this with as successful passes, right? So when I plot this, yeah, so you see these are all the successful passes Jude Bellingham made, right? That's quite a lot of passes, right? But it's just the basics, right? So we're not gonna like really discuss legit how legit this I mean how legible this thing is, but it's a good thing to start. Right? We got all the successful passes of Jude Bellingham plotted paper similarly on the pitch. Similarly, we can also plot his unsuccessful passes. Maybe give that a red color, right? Like I said, you can go to this website, pick up um, the color you want to represent for unsuccessful passes. Just put that here. Okay, so now we got the unsuccessful passes Jude Bellingham made. We also got the successful passes he made. So we got both, right? It's great. So we plotted a very basic plot. And let's say I want to plot the shots and goals Jude Bellingham made. So now we use a function called scatter. So scatter is pretty much similar to arrows, only thing you don't need an index and ny, and because in the data I have shots or goals don't have an index and ny in the data we have, and these shots, right? So basically what we're doing is we're using Jude, right? The actions of Jude Bellingham, and we're filtering it saying the type is in shot. So this is in function is very useful in, instead of plotting, using the scatter function each time for, let's say, we even want to plot the shots that are not goals. So that's represented by this list. So instead of plotting 3 times, once for missed shots, once for shape shot, once for shot on post, we're instead using the isn't function. So anything that is in the list of shots, if that type matches up with it, we're gonna plot it, right? So we're gonna use the scatter function, right? So this scatter function is very useful in plotting, scatter plots, scatter points on the pitch. So we're going to say the color is a certain color, any color you want to pick. And this S indicates size, right? So usually, sometimes when you got the XG data of shots, you can just say 500 into XG of the shot, right? You can use it that way as well. We don't have XG data now, so we're gonna skip that. Same way, goals. Let's call goals. I think the goals it only has one outcome, which is a goal. So now we're using the marker football. So what marker does is you can put how you want the point to appear on the pitch. So you can maybe put a star, a circular object, or a football, right? No, I think when I plot it will be very clear. Okay, so now I got all the shots that Jude Bellingham took and the goals he scored. Right, so these are the goals he scored and these are the shots he took from the data we have. Right, So now you can see how the coordinate system works. I hope you understand. Generally, when we make any database, we don't use the access and label because it's not really, well, just doesn't make it legible or neat. Now it looks neater, right? So we got shots and goals that Jude Bellingham did. Now, what we're gonna do is, now we're gonna plot the action flow map. So now, uh, pass flow or action flow or anything, what flow function does is it divides the pitch into different areas and plots the direction of the actions you make. Let's just go into the example spot. So we got the website for Empiric Soccer here. I think it'll be better to explain it here. So we got pass flow plot. This is what we're gonna do. Pass flow plot. So what a pass flow plot does is it divides the pitch into various areas, and you can actually show what are the actions or which direction they're making passes when you have the ball in a certain area, right? So we're going to do that for Jude Bellingham, right? Generally, you use this for teams. You can use this for individual players. Well, that's nothing wrong with that, right? So you can refer this, for like exactly what the arrow length means, whether like have to vary the length of the arrows and other stuff. But I'll give you an eye, a very basic eye to start out with. So you start out with the bins. Now what these bins represent is these bins represent how many areas you're dividing the picture. So now in this they use the same bins for using 6 into 4, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into 4, right? So x into y. On the x-axis, you're dividing it on 6 parts, right? 6 columns, and the y-axis you're dividing into 4, right? So that's what bins mean. Now, once you define bins, you're gonna use a function called bin statistic, right? Bin, bins, and bin statistic, and we're gonna take the passes of Jude Bellingham, the x coordinate, we're gonna put the y coordinate, and we're gonna count, right? So basically, what this does is in each bin, you're gonna assign a number of the passes Bellingham made, right? So basically, what we're doing is in each bin, which is each square box, we're gonna find out. We're gonna assign the number of passes Jude Bellingham made, right? And according to the amount of passes he made, the color is darker or maybe less dark or moderate. That's the whole point. And how do we put the colors actually? Well, this function called heat map does that. So heat map, we're going to put this variable that makes the count. We're going to put that here. We're going to say CMap as blue. So this CMap is basically like which color do you want? You want it all in reds. We want maybe in blue. This reds, this greens, and there are a whole lot of colors, right? You can explore that as you wish, right? So we're gonna take this, right? We're gonna take this and we're gonna first make a heat map on the areas where Jude Bellingham made the most number of passes. Okay, good. So Jude Bellingham last year, I think he made most of the passes from this area, right around the zone 14. So he played like a right-sided 8 for most of the games for Borussia Dortmund. he probably did drift out a lot to play passes out in wide areas. But knowing this isn't enough. We may need which direction is he making passes. So now we're going to use the function called flow. So what this flow does is this flow will give us direction. So the logic is same, right? We're giving the axis. So now the axis is 2. So like I said before, 0, 1, 2. Right? So AX of pitch 2. Right? So now we're going to plot the arrows or the direction of passes Jude Bellingham made from different areas. Cool. So now we got, let's say Jude Bellingham is pretty good, so good that he's always a forward passer in most of the crucial areas he plays in. Like typically he plays diagonal balls in these areas, right? And generally, I think you can easily tell that he's the kind of profile that allows recycling the ball a lot. Looking at this, so technically speaking, if somebody asks you to make um, a wish that says Jude Bellingham's passes, successful and not successful, one, the shots, goals, and a pass flow. So pretty much made the wish, but well, we need to add some stuff to it to make it legible, right? So people need to understand what's presented in each pitch, right? So, like I said, when we make a data wish, it's all about making the data wish as understandable to as possible, right? That's the whole idea of it. So let's just do that. Let's just use that. Let's just put titles. So in order to give titles to each pitch, all you have to do is, yep. So you gotta take the pitch name, the axis. So this pitch is the AX pitch 0, 0, 1, 2. And I'm going to use a function called set title and say Jude Bellingham for passes played. I want a font size inside of 40 and the color as white, right? And then similarly on these pitches 1 and 2, we're going to say shots and goals for this pitch. Font size 40, color white. These are pass flow, font size 40, color white. And AX title. So now where does this title come from? We left some space for title height, right? So this height. So with this value, we're going to put the title. And we also want to add a legend here, right? So what this legend does is it says whether the green is what does green and red signify. How do we give the indication or tell the Python how to identify it? We have to put a label for any wish we're making. So when we put a label, so we label the green ones, the successful ones, successful passes. We put the label there on successful passes. So if we use a legend, let's just say the location is at the upper left. Let's just pass it. And we are in the title, Jude Bellingham play report made by whoever you are. Right, so maybe your name, 123, made by. So it's basically adding a copyright to your name, a watermark or anything. But still, this was good. But maybe you feel, okay, I want to add maybe a picture of Jude Bellingham, right? We did take a huge picture of Jude Bellingham before, right? So we're gonna add that image. And how do we add that image? We are going to use the function called add image. So we discussed about add image, right? So you got the function, you got Jude Bellingham's image right here. Cool, it's a huge image, but it should fit in the page right in. Let's add it. So adding the image. So we're specifying which image we're adding, specifying the figure, whose name is fig, specifying where the left goes from 0 to 1. The 0 is the left extreme, the 1 is the right extreme. We're adding right around here, 0.4. We're adding the height, the width, the bottom. So these numbers something you adjust and test it out, right? Because usually there's no right combination numbers going to have you make diagrams. So now let's see. Okay, now this looks good, right? I mean, you got a whole player of Jude Bellingham. You understand the areas he plays passes. You understand the areas he takes the shot. Of course, this isn't much. It's going to give much insight, but the idea is just I want to see all the passes he made. Right? Maybe you can correlate the first and last one and see if that makes any sense. But this is just a basic graph, right? So this is like a basic player report. Maybe we can plot only the progressive passes, or maybe we can plot assists if you want. You can do that anyway. You want to plot assists. Let's say, for example, there is a column called assist, right? So in the data frame, you got a column called assist, right? So all you have to do is just say Jude. So let's just say Jude assist is the column name, right? Assist equal to true, right? So when it's false, it's on assist. When it's true, you got the assist Jude Bellingham made. You can just plot them. Maybe you don't want all these passes. There's a lot of passes here. You don't want all this mess. It probably looks like mess, so we can just avoid that. We just say, we just put the passes and we say assist is true. And so we're just going to plot an assist and say just plotting of the successful passes. And just label it as assist, right? And when you run it, see we got 4 assists Jude Bellingham made, right? You got the legend saying the green arrow is the assist. This is good, right? And maybe you can also add the key passes if you want. If you want to find the key passes, you can find them as well. So you got columns that also say whether an event is key pass, long, short, it's from a corner, other, anything. Right, so this column called pass key helps you in, if you put that as true, let's say we take pass key true. So these are all the key passes Jude Bellingham made. We can plot these as well. Right, we can just plot them and say those are the key passes. So like that you can experiment a lot. Right, so this is the basics of Python. I mean, maybe it's a bit long, but the more you explore, the more you imagine, better it gets. So I would say practice enough. you can make beautiful videos like I do. So thank you.